The Zephyrian Empire ruled over 17 star systems with an iron fist. Their massive crystalline warships moved through space like deadly diamonds cutting through the darkness. Each ship could destroy entire planets with a single blast. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching the tactical display with confidence. His kind had never lost a battle in 300 years of conquest. The Empire had crushed every species they encountered with overwhelming force and superior technology. Today would be no different as they approached a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system. The tactical officer turned to report the latest intelligence data. Admiral, the target is confirmed. Sol System 3rd, planet. The inhabitants call themselves humans according to our probe data. Kethvar clicked his mandibles in amusement. The intelligence reports were almost insulting. These humans had barely managed to reach their own moon using primitive fusion drives and simple kinetic weapons. Their largest vessel was smaller than a Zephyrian scout ship. It would be like crushing insects. "How many ships do we need for this conquest?" asked his second in command. "3 battlecruisers should be more than enough," Kethvar replied, turning away from the display. "Perhaps even 2 would suffice. We must not waste Imperial resources on such weak prey." The Admiral had no idea that human sensors had been tracking his fleet since they entered the outer edges of the solar system. Deep beneath the surface of Luna, Admiral Lisa Kane watched the alien approach from her secret command bunker. She had been preparing for this moment for 3 years, ever since the first Zephyrian probe had been quietly captured and studied. The woman had dedicated her entire career to understanding alien technology. Kane knew that humanity's survival depended on being smarter and more prepared than their enemies. She had studied every battle the Empire had fought, learning their tactics and weaknesses. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez looked up from her communication station. "Admiral, they are broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies. The aliens want us to give up without a fight." Kane's face showed a cold smile. "Let them keep talking, Rodriguez. The longer they broadcast, the more our listening posts can analyze their communication systems and ship designs." She turned to her tactical officer commander. "What is our current status?" Commander Kate Davis checked her instruments. "All Ghost Fleet units are positioned and running in complete silence. The enemy has no detection of our hidden forces scattered throughout the asteroid belt. Our ships have been tracking them since they crossed our outer sensor network." Kane nodded. With satisfaction, humanity had learned hard lessons by monitoring the Empire's previous conquests. While the Zephyrians announced their superiority, human engineers had been working day and night. The stolen probe technology had been reverse-engineered and improved beyond alien understanding. The humans had spent decades fighting each other in countless wars across their home planet. This experience had taught them lessons about combat that peaceful species could never learn. They understood deception, misdirection, and the element of surprise better than any other race in the galaxy. "They think we are primitives playing with chemical rockets and metal bullets," Kane said quietly. "Time to show them what happens when you underestimate an entire species that learned warfare by fighting itself for thousands of years." The Zephyrian intelligence had been carefully manipulated by human agents. Fake technology demonstrations and staged military exercises had convinced the Empire that humanity was defenseless. The real human fleet remained hidden using stealth technology that the aliens could not detect. Captain Michelle Torres commanded the lead human vessel, the UES Retribution. Her ship was one of 50 advanced warships concealed throughout the solar system. Each vessel carried weapons and defensive systems that operated on principles the Empire had never encountered. The human ships used dimensional fold technology, quantum disruption fields, and matter conversion weapons that could bypass any known defense system. These were not the crude vessels described in Zephyrian intelligence reports, but predatory war machines designed specifically to counter Imperial tactics. Torres studied the enemy formation on her tactical display. The aliens had arranged their ships in a perfect geometric pattern that looked impressive, but left them vulnerable to coordinated attacks from multiple directions. This was exactly what human strategists had predicted, based on their analysis of previous Empire battles. The Zephyrian fleet moved closer to Earth, broadcasting their demands for immediate surrender. The aliens expected the humans to respond with desperate pleas for mercy or pathetic attempts at negotiation. Instead, they received only silence, which began to make Admiral Kethvar nervous. His sensor officer reported unusual energy readings from the asteroid belt, but the signatures were too faint and scattered to identify multiple contacts appear and disappear from our screens. Admiral, it could be some form of natural phenomenon or primitive mining equipment. Kethvar dismissed the readings as unimportant. The humans were known to have mining operations in their asteroid belt, and their technology was too backward to pose any threat to Imperial warships. The Admiral had no way of knowing that those energy readings came from the most advanced military fleet. Humanity had ever assembled ships that had been built in secret using technology stolen from the Empire itself, and improved beyond alien comprehension. Kane watched the enemy approach from her command center, knowing that everything depended on perfect timing. The humans had only one chance to prove they were not helpless victims, but apex predators who had been waiting patiently for their moment to strike. The time for hiding was almost over. Soon the Zephyrian Empire would discover that their intelligence had been completely wrong, and that humanity was far more dangerous than any species they had previously encountered. The Zephyrian formation began to collapse as human strike craft swarmed through their ranks like angry insects. These were not the slow, lumbering fighters their intelligence had described, but compact, nearly indestructible war machines piloted by women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Lieutenant Commander Patricia Brooks guided her fighter through impossible maneuvers as enemy fire filled the space around her. The aliens seemed unable to predict human movement patterns. Their targeting computers had been designed to track large, predictable targets, not small craft that moved like living creatures. "This is Viper Squadron to all units," she transmitted. "Their defensive systems are completely inadequate against our attack patterns. It seems they have never encountered fighters this small and maneuverable before." "Copy, Viper Leader, this is Lightning Squadron," responded Captain Jennifer Walsh. "We are beginning our attack runs on their command structures." The human pilots had grown up playing three-dimensional combat games that simulated zero-gravity warfare. Their reflexes had been honed by years of virtual reality training that prepared them for exactly this type of battle. The Zephyrians had no equivalent experience. In their military training, Brooks targeted the nearest enemy battlecruiser with her molecular disruptor torpedoes. The weapons were designed to break apart matter at the atomic level, turning solid crystalline armor into expanding clouds of harmless gas. Her fighter danced between defensive laser beams as she lined up the perfect shot, target locked. She announced to her squadron, "Firing molecular disruptors." Now the torpedoes struck the alien vessel amidships and began eating through the hull, like invisible acid. The Zephyrian armor that had withstood attacks from conventional weapons dissolved in seconds, leaving gaping holes that vented atmosphere and crew members into space. Admiral Kethvar felt his flagship shudder under repeated impacts from weapons he could not understand. "How is this possible?" he demanded from his engineering staff. "Our shields should be impenetrable to any attack from such a primitive species." "Admiral, the human weapons are not following." Known physics responded. His chief scientist. "They seem to be manipulating matter and energy at the quantum level using principles our science cannot explain." The truth was that human science had taken a completely different path than Zephyrian technology. While the Empire had focused on building bigger and more powerful weapons, humans had learned to be clever and adaptive. Their weapons were designed to exploit weaknesses rather than overwhelm defenses. Captain Michelle Torres watched the battle unfold from her command. Bridges' human tactics proved superior to alien technology. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Nicole Chen, provided constant updates on enemy ship status. "Captain, the alien fleet is losing cohesion," Chen reported. "Their command and control systems appear to be failing under our coordinated attacks." Torres nodded with satisfaction. The Zephyrian Empire had built their military around the concept of overwhelming force. They had never learned to fight enemies who used speed, intelligence, and deception. As primary weapons, deploy the phase shift mines, she ordered. Phase shift mines deploying now, acknowledged her weapons officer. The mines materialized throughout the enemy formation using dimensional technology to appear inside Zephyrian shields. Each mine contained enough antimatter to vaporize a city block. When they detonated, the explosions created cascading failures throughout the alien fleet. Meanwhile, Admiral Lisa Kane continued directing the overall battle from her lunar command center. She had studied every aspect of Zephyrian military doctrine and identified their critical weakness. The Empire relied too heavily on technology and not enough on tactical flexibility. Commander Davis, what is the status of our stealth destroyer squadrons? She asked. All stealth units are in position and awaiting your orders, Admiral Davis replied. The enemy still has no detection of our cloaked vessels. Kane smiled coldly. Excellent. Execute flanking maneuver Delta 7. The human stealth destroyers had been positioned around the Zephyrian fleet since before the battle began. Using technology stolen from captured alien probes and improved beyond recognition, these ships were invisible to Imperial sensors. Captain Helen Martinez commanded one of these stealth vessels from her position directly behind the enemy flagship. Her ship, the Silent Death, carried weapons that could punch through any known defense system. Martinez opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian admiral. I'm afraid your reinforcements will not be arriving. Kethvar, your communications are being jammed by quantum interference patterns. Your empire will not know you are in trouble until it is far too late. The remaining Zephyrian ships found themselves trapped in normal space as human interdiction technology locked down the local space-time continuum. Their hyperspace drives were useless against technology that created dimensional barriers around the entire battle zone. Kethvar realized with growing panic that his supposedly superior fleet was being systematically destroyed by creatures his empire had dismissed as barely intelligent. The humans were not primitive barbarians, but apex predators who had been pretending to be helpless. Prey emergency. Transmission to Imperial Command, he ordered desperately. We need immediate reinforcement from all available fleet elements. Communication systems are not responding. Admiral, his communications officer replied with fear in his voice. All of our long-range transmitters appear to be blocked by some form of interference. We cannot identify. Captain Beverly Grant positioned her battleship the Iron Will for the final assault on the Zephyrian flagship. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Rachel Torres, ran through the targeting sequence for their most powerful weapon captain. We have a clear shot at their command center. The dimensional lance is fully charged and ready to fire. Grant's voice was cold as space itself. Fire when ready. The dimensional lance did not simply destroy its target but erased it from existence. The beam passed through multiple layers of reality, selectively removing the alien flagship bridge while leaving the rest of the vessel intact. But powerless, Admiral Kethvar's last coherent thought before the weapon struck was a desperate understanding of how completely his empire had underestimated humanity. These were not the primitive creatures described in their intelligence reports, but the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever produced. The surviving Zephyrian vessels found themselves surrounded by human warships that had appeared from seemingly empty space. Each alien ship was outnumbered and outgunned by enemies using technology they could not understand. Or Counter Captain Grant opened a communication channel to address the remaining Imperial forces. Your admiral is dead. Your ships are crippled. Your reinforcements cannot reach you. You have one choice: surrender immediately or join your flagship, in whatever dimension our weapons sent it to. The response was immediate, as every surviving Zephyrian vessel powered down their weapons and shields simultaneously. Wise decision, Grant acknowledged. You will be treated according to our rules of war, which is more courtesy than your empire showed the 17 civilizations you destroyed before making the mistake of coming here. The Zephyrian battle group dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Their crystalline ships gleamed against the starfield like deadly jewels arranged in a threatening triangle. Admiral Kethvar expected the humans to immediately begin broadcasting desperate pleas for mercy and offers of complete surrender. Instead, there was only silence, Admiral. We are detecting strange energy readings from multiple locations, his sensor officer reported with growing concern. The readings seem to be coming from empty space, but our instruments show nothing. There, explain what you mean, Kethvar commanded, though his confidence began to waver slightly for the first time in decades. Multiple contacts are appearing and disappearing on our sensors. Sir, it appears they are using some form of stealth technology. but that should be impossible given their primitive development level. Before the officer could finish his sentence, space itself seemed to shimmer and ripple like water. Dozens of human warships materialized from what had appeared to be empty void. Their hulls flickered as advanced stealth systems deactivated, revealing sleek predatory vessels bristling with unknown weapons. These were not the crude ships described in Imperial intelligence reports. These vessels looked like they had been designed by a species that understood warfare at a level the Empire had never encountered. The human ships moved with fluid grace, their formations shifting like hunting packs. Captain Michelle Torres' voice cut across all communication frequencies as she addressed the stunned Zephyrian fleet from her command bridge. Zephyrian vessels. This is Captain Torres of the United Earth Space Command. You are trespassing in human territory. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender, or we will demonstrate why your empire should have gathered better intelligence. Admiral Kethvar mandibles flared with rage and disbelief. Impossible. Our scouts reported that these humans barely had spaceflight capability. Their largest vessels were supposed to be smaller than our escort ships. Your intelligence was fed exactly what we wanted you to believe. Torres replied with deadly calm. We have been watching your empire for years, studying your tactics and preparing. For this moment, 20 seconds remain. The Zephyrian Admiral Pride would not allow retreat. His crystalline warships had conquered every species they encountered through overwhelming technological superiority. No primitive race could possibly challenge the might of the Empire. All vessels open fire, he commanded. Show these mammals why the Empire rules the galaxy. Brilliant energy beams lanced through space toward the human fleet, but the weapons struck nothing. The human ships had vanished again there, advanced stealth systems making them invisible to Zephyrian sensors and targeting computers. Where did they go? Kethvar roared at his tactical staff. His answer came in the form of quantum torpedoes that seemed to materialize inside his fleet formation. The weapons had somehow passed through dimensional fold space to bypass Imperial shields entirely. The explosions were unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever seen as the warheads tore at the fabric of space-time itself. Commander Rebecca Walsh monitored the battle from her asteroid belt command center, watching the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Phase 1 is complete. The enemy is confused and taking significant damage from our initial strike. All units initiate Phase 2. Roger that came. The response from Captain Angela Price aboard the UES Nemesis. All strike wings. This is Valkyrie leader time to show them what human engineering looks like when we put our minds to war. The human fleet had been designed around a simple principle, that the Empire could not understand humans had learned warfare by fighting each other for thousands of years. This experience had taught them that victory went not to the strongest, but to the smartest and most adaptable. Lieutenant Commander Patricia Brooks led the first wave of human strike fighters. Her craft, the Dancing Death, weaved through Zephyrian defensive fire with impossible precision. The alien energy weapons designed to overwhelm heavy capital ship shields were completely useless against targets too small and fast to track. This is Viper Squadron, she called to her wingmates. Their targeting systems cannot lock onto our evasion patterns. It appears they have never fought anything smaller than a battleship before. Copy that, Viper. Leader, responded Lieutenant Sarah Kim. Beginning torpedo runs on their primary power sources. The human fighters carried weapons that operated on principles the Zephyrians could not comprehend. Molecular disruptor warheads ate through crystalline armor like acid, while gravity bombs created localized space-time distortions that crushed entire sections of enemy vessels. Admiral Kethvar watched in growing terror as his flagship shields began to fail under the relentless human assault. How are their weapons penetrating our defenses? Our armor plating has withstood direct hits from neutron star bombardments. His chief engineer voice was tight with fear. Admiral, their weapons are not using conventional energy or kinetic principles. They appear to be manipulating fundamental physical laws. Matter conversion, dimensional phasing, localized gravity manipulation. These are technologies we have no classification for. The Zephyrian Empire had grown complacent over centuries of easy victories. They had relied on overwhelming technological superiority rather than tactical innovation. Their military doctrine assumed that every enemy would fight using similar technology and methods. Meanwhile, aboard the human command vessel, Admiral Kane coordinated the battle with the calm precision of a master strategist. Her years of studying Zephyrian battle recordings had revealed critical weaknesses in Imperial tactics. The Empire had never faced an enemy that used deception and misdirection as primary. Weapons Commander Hayes deploy the mirror field generators Kane ordered. Mirror field generators are deploying now, replied Commander Linda Hayes from the weapons control station. Space around the Zephyrian fleet began to shimmer as invisible human technology created a maze of folded dimensions. The aliens' energy weapons started reflecting back at their own ships, bouncing off spatial distortions like light, bouncing between mirrors. Captain Torres watched with satisfaction as the Empire most advanced battlecruiser began destroying itself with its own reflected weapon fire. This is what happens when you build your entire military around fighting enemies who use the same basic principles you do. The human fleet moved like a pack of wolves, coordinating their attacks with deadly precision. Each ship represented decades of human engineering focused on a single goal, making any species that threatened Earth regret their decision to do so. The largest military force in galactic history emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Over 400 Zephyrian warships arranged themselves in perfect battle formations that stretched across millions of kilometers of space. Grand Admiral Vexthera commanded this massive fleet from her flagship, the Infinite Conquest. This time there would be no mistakes or underestimation. The Empire had brought overwhelming force to crush the human species completely and serve as an example to any other civilization that might dare to resist Imperial rule. Admiral, prepare for immediate planetary bombardment. Ordered Emperor Calviron through subspace communication. I want every human world turned to molten glass. Nothing of their species must survive to threaten the Empire. Again, understood, Your Majesty. Vexthera replied, all fleet units are moving into bombardment positions. The human homeworld will be destroyed within the hour. The Grand Admiral had studied the previous battle recordings extensively. She understood that humans used stealth technology and hit-and-run tactics, but believed that sheer numbers would overwhelm any defensive strategy. 400 capital ships should be able to destroy anything the humans could deploy against them. On Luna, Admiral Kane watched the massive Imperial fleet approach with calm satisfaction. This was exactly what she had hoped for. The Empire had committed their entire military to this single battle, giving humanity the opportunity to cripple their enemies permanently. All units, this is Admiral Kane. She broadcast to the hidden human fleet. The enemy has brought everything they have. This is our chance to end their threat forever. Operation Final Solution is now active throughout the Sol system. Over 700 human warships powered up their engines and weapon systems. Each vessel had been built using advanced technology that combined the best of human engineering with improved alien science, stolen from captured Zephyrian ships. Commodore Torres led the first attack wave as human ships materialized from stealth all around the Imperial fleet. The Zephyrians found themselves surrounded by enemies that had appeared from what seemed to be empty space. Impossible, Vexthera gasped. How many ships do they have? Our intelligence indicated they possessed fewer than 50 vessels total. The human fleet attacked with coordinated precision that overwhelmed Imperial defenses. Starbreaker torpedoes ignited fusion reactions throughout the enemy formation, while dimensional lances erased entire ships from existence. The Zephyrian fleet began to disintegrate under the relentless assault. Captain Helen Martinez commanded a squadron of stealth destroyers that struck at the heart of the Imperial formation. Her ships used quantum disruption weapons to tear apart the molecular bonds holding enemy vessels together. This is Ghost Squadron, she transmitted to her pilots. Target their command ships first. Without leadership, their fleet will fall into chaos. Lieutenant Commander Patricia Brooks led her fighter wings in devastating strikes against Imperial support vessels. The human pilots had trained for years specifically to counter Zephyrian tactics, and their experience showed in the precision of their attacks. Viper Squadron, to all units, she called out. Their point defense systems cannot track our movement patterns. Continue strafing runs on their weapon emplacements. Dr. Amanda Foster watched from her laboratory as the Starbreaker torpedoes performed exactly as designed. The weapons created miniature suns that consumed everything within their blast radius, turning the largest Imperial ships into expanding clouds of superheated plasma. The Zephyrian Empire had never encountered weapons that could manipulate stellar physics. Their ships were designed to withstand conventional energy weapons, not artificial fusion reactions that burned at the temperature of star cores. Captain Beverly Grant positioned her battleship for a direct assault on the Imperial flagship. Her crew had practiced this maneuver hundreds of times in simulation, and they executed it with deadly perfection. "Iron will to all vessels," she announced. "We are beginning our attack run. On the enemy command ship, all units provide covering fire." The Dimensional Lance charged to full power as Grant's ship approached the Infinite Conquest. The weapon fired with devastating effect, erasing the Imperial flagship bridge and leaving the massive vessel helpless and drifting. Grand Admiral Vexthara felt her ship shudder and die around her as human weapons tore through defenses that had been considered impenetrable. Her last transmission was a desperate warning to the Empire. "All Imperial forces retreat immediately," she broadcast. "The humans are not what we believe them to be. They are the most dangerous predators in the galaxy." But retreat was impossible. The human interdiction fields had locked down local space, preventing any ship from entering hyperspace. The Imperial fleet was trapped in a killing zone designed by human strategists who understood warfare better than any other species. Admiral Kane coordinated the final phase of the battle as human ships closed in on the remaining Imperial vessels. The enemy fleet was completely surrounded and outgunned by technology they could not understand or counter. "This is Admiral Kane to all Imperial forces," she broadcast. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your Grand Admiral is dead. Your Empire will remember this day as the moment they learned that humanity is not prey, but predator. Surrender now, and you will be treated with mercy." The response was immediate and universal. Every surviving Zephyrian ship powered down their weapons, and shields acknowledging their complete defeat. The largest military force in galactic history had been destroyed in less than 2 hours by enemies they had dismissed as primitive. The battle was over, but its consequences would reshape the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire military power had been broken, and their reputation for invincibility was shattered forever. News of the human victory would spread to every civilized world, encouraging other species to resist. Imperial rule, Admiral Kane stood in her command center looking out at the debris field that had once been the Empire's greatest fleet. Human engineering teams were already moving to salvage the most advanced alien technology for study in reverse engineering. Commander Davis approached. "With the final battle report, Admiral, we have achieved complete victory. The Imperial fleet has been destroyed or captured with minimal losses to our forces." Kane nodded with satisfaction. "Send a message to Earth and all human colonies," she ordered. "The threat has been eliminated. Humanity is safe, and the galaxy knows we will defend ourselves against any aggressor." The message that went out to human worlds was simple but profound. The Empire had sent their best warriors and most advanced ships. Humanity had laughed at their efforts and then flattened them completely. The species that had been dismissed as primitive had proven they were the most dangerous force in the galaxy. Years later, historians would study this battle as the moment when humanity emerged from hiding to claim their place as the new dominant civilization. The Zephyrian Empire would never recover from their losses, and other alien species would remember that threatening Earth led to total destruction. Admiral Kane. Final report summarized the victory in words that would be remembered forever. "They thought we were helpless prey waiting to be conquered. Instead, they discovered that humans are apex predators who had been patiently waiting for our moment to strike. The galaxy will never underestimate us again." 3 weeks after the devastating defeat at Sol System, Grand Admiral Vexthara stood before the Zephyrian Imperial Council delivering the most humiliating report in the Empire's entire history. Her crystalline features showed patterns of shame and disbelief as she addressed the assembled leadership. "The human species has been completely underestimated," she admitted to the council chamber filled with the Empire's most powerful leaders. "Our intelligence was not merely inadequate. It was deliberately and systematically manipulated by human agents." Emperor Calverin shifted his massive form on the crystal throne, his anger causing his body to glow with dangerous energy patterns. explained to me how 3 of our most advanced battlecruisers were destroyed by a species that our reports claimed had not even achieved basic interstellar travel. Your Majesty, they had achieved interstellar travel and much more. Vexthera replied, accessing the battle recordings stored in her memory implants. They have been watching us for years, studying our tactics, reverse engineering our technology, and developing specific countermeasures designed to neutralize every advantage we possess. The recorded battle footage played on the council chamber main display showing Zephyrian ships being systematically destroyed by human weapons that seem to ignore the laws of physics. The Imperial leaders watched in stunned silence as their most powerful vessels were reduced to floating debris. Their weapons do not merely surpass ours. Vexthera continued. They operate on completely different scientific principles: dimensional manipulation, quantum field generation, matter phase technology. They have somehow leapfrogged past our entire technological foundation. Meanwhile, back in the Sol system, Admiral Lisa Kane stood in the observation deck of Luna Command, watching human engineering teams swarm over the captured Zephyrian vessels. The Empire's most advanced technology was being studied and reverse engineered by teams led by Dr. Amanda Foster and Dr. Carol Washington. Admiral reported Commander Kate Davis. Long-range sensors are detecting massive Imperial fleet movements. It appears they are mobilizing everything they have for a full-scale invasion of our system. Kane's expression remained calm and confident. How many ships are we tracking? Current sensor readings indicate over 400 vessels. Admiral, every major Imperial fleet group appears to be converging on our position. This will be the largest military force ever assembled by the Zephyrian Empire. Perfect, Kane replied, turning away from the captured alien ships. The more vessels they bring, the more advanced technology we will be able to capture when we destroy them. Alert all commands operation. Total Victory is now active. Commodore Michelle Torres, now promoted for her exceptional performance in the first battle, joined Kane at the main tactical display. The Ghost Fleet is fully operational. Admiral, we now have over 600 stealth-capable warships, all equipped with technology the Empire has never encountered before. Kane nodded with satisfaction. And our new weapon systems. Dr. Foster research team has completed development of the Starbreaker torpedoes. Torres reported with grim satisfaction. If the Empire wants to bring their entire military to our doorstep, we will give them a demonstration of what humans can accomplish when we are truly motivated to fight. The Admiral turned to address her assembled command staff. The Zephyrian Empire has spent centuries believing that technological superiority guarantees victory in any conflict. They are about to learn why humans became the dominant species on a planet where everything else was actively trying to kill us. She paused, looking out at the stars where the massive Imperial fleet was approaching, like a storm cloud of death and destruction. They sent their very best warriors, and we laughed at their efforts. Now we are going to flatten not just this battlefield, but their entire concept of military dominance. When this battle is finished, the Empire will understand that humanity does not fight merely to win. We fight to ensure that nobody will ever threaten us again. Deep in the research laboratories beneath Luna's surface, Dr. Amanda Foster put the finishing touches on humanity's most devastating weapon. The Starbreaker torpedoes used principles of stellar engineering to create controlled fusion reactions that could ignite gas giant atmospheres or destabilize star systems. Amanda knew that the approaching Imperial fleet represented an existential threat to human civilization. If they lost this battle, the Zephyrian Empire would glass every human world and erase their species from the galaxy. The stakes could not be higher. Dr. Carol Washington worked alongside her, developing improved stealth technology that would make human ships completely invisible to any known detection system. Their breakthrough in quantum field manipulation would allow the entire human fleet to operate without being detected until they chose to reveal themselves. The two women had spent years preparing for this moment, studying captured alien technology and pushing human science beyond its previous limits. They understood that the survival of their entire species depended on their ability to outthink and out-engineer. A civilization that had conquered half the galaxy. Captain Angela Price supervised the final preparations aboard her vessel, the UES Nemesis. Her ship was one of dozens of new warships built using hybrid human Zephyrian technology that had been improved and weaponized beyond alien recognition, Price knew that the coming battle would determine the future of both species. If humanity won, they would become the new dominant power in the galaxy. If they lost, there would be no humans left to remember their defeat. Lieutenant Sarah Kim completed her final pilot training exercise in the Advanced Combat Simulator. Her squadron had been practicing coordinated strike patterns against simulated Imperial fleet formations. The human pilots had achieved kill ratios that would have been impossible using conventional tactics. The pilots understood that their small fighters represented humanity best, hope for victory against overwhelming numbers. The Zephyrian Empire relied on massive capital ships that were vulnerable to swarm attacks by fast maneuverable craft carrying advanced weapons. Commander Linda Hayes oversaw the installation of mirror field generators throughout the Sol system. These devices would create a maze of folded space that would trap the Imperial fleet and turn their own weapons against them. The technology had been developed specifically to counter Zephyrian battle tactics. Hayes knew that the Empire had never faced enemies who used the battlefield itself as a weapon. Human engineers had turned the entire solar system into a trap designed to destroy anyone who threatened Earth. As the Imperial fleet approached, Admiral Kane felt confident in human preparations. They had turned their apparent weakness into their greatest strength. The Zephyrians expected to fight primitive barbarians, but would instead face the most advanced military force in galactic history.